नमस्कार, मैं अशोक व्यास हूँ और आग के सामने बैठने अगर तस्वीर हो आग की तो कोई मुश्किल नहीं होती है. But what we have witnessed through newspapers and through television are the images that are so horrifying, something that is unimaginable, and sometimes we feel that, oh, this was the news and this has gone, but that is not the case. Still, people are at harm's way, and in LA, the conditions in Southern California are still very much challenging. Over 24 people have been killed, 100,000 uh, had to flee, they are displaced. And in Ventura County, the announcement still is get set to leave early if you receive an evacuation order. Looking at the way we live, good things and bad things happen together while we are observing Makar Sakranti, Lori, Bihu, and of course Mahakumbh is there, um, drawing a lot of devotees. And here we are talking about LA fire to express our solidarity and also to share our prayers. And I have the presence of Gita Setia ji, Nilima Madan ji, and Parveen Chopra ji. Welcome. As we begin, Nilima ji, I would request you to unmute yourself. And then I would begin by getting a feel of where we are in terms of what has happened, Parveen ji. So, very briefly, if you give us a sketch of, we have seen that fire takes place in LA, that region, but this time this is unprecedented, and we feel as a human race like helpless uh, uh, in front of Mother Nature, or what it is. How do you see it? Is man-made? It is a natural calamity. How would you put it?
There have been wildfires in that area, but it never touched LA itself. So this is I think the first time that heavily populated areas in Los Angeles, the fire has reached there. Um, I was wondering that there is heat in many parts of the world, including in India, but why the wildfires only in California or Southern California? So somebody explained that there is some geographical thing that makes the sun rays like a prism effect, and that kind of burns the leaves and the trees, and that is how the wildfires start there. But it is nonetheless, whatever the reason, climate change or whatever, or inefficiency of the water department there, fire department, the it is horrifying. The images are horrifying. I personally know of some people who wrote on Facebook that they had to evacuate and they have to leave all their belongings behind and so on. So it is a very stressful time for many of them living in that area who have to evacuate, or who are under orders to evacuate, or fearing that something can happen to their house. Yeah.
Absolutely. Nilimaji, when you started following what is happening in LA, and what was your gut feeling? Have you been to that part, and do you have some people known to you residing there?
Namaste. First of all, thank you very much for bringing this topic to everybody. It is really, it is the burning topic of the day. Yes, I have visited LA and I do have some friends there, but some are thankfully not affected and some of them are on caution. But if you look overall, Pasadena, Altadena, now Ventura with the red flag flying high, this is the one of the 20 most costliest natural disasters in the United States ever. So if you look at the devastation, 10,000 buildings gone, 60,000 at risk. If you look at the numbers of evacuations, like you said, almost 175,000 residents have left with minimal things in their hands or whatever they could grab and just go. At this point, whether it is how to prevent is not even the question. Right now, they're just dealing with the disaster. Who can help? They need constant vigilance as to what can happen worse. Help with the evacuation, all the departments coming together to help, the community coming together to help. They're trying to save people, they're trying to rehabilitate people, trying to give medical attention. The mobility, the transportation, the devastation, the severe panic. When it happens, it strikes panic in the area that it happens. So the emotional stress, the financial stress, even a lot of people who, a lot of this damage may be recovered through insurers, but there are many damages which are not insured. So it is going to cost us over $40 billion to deal with this disaster. This is not a small story. And when we have even the Pope praying, the church is praying, everybody in and around trying to pray for their own families, I don't know what can be worse and what can be ever done to prevent something like this in future.
So we are trying to actually understand and access what has happened, and as you mentioned, indeed it is a costly affair. But that cost, which can never be put in the tangible form, it starts right from when you feel the pain, even to think of somebody burning, or if you by mistake touch hot utensil while cooking, that feeling, it is not easy to tolerate. And here that fire continues. So Geeta ji, as you have been to LA, your daughter resides there, and we have seen for the first time that many celebrities found their homes also taken away by the fire, and people who you would think have made so much money and they live so comfortably in such wonderful mansions that they are beyond any suffering, are now at a stage where they lost everything. That is indeed unimaginable. But it also tells us that what we take for granted is not the right way to look at anything, and any power is not enough in terms of having that claim that it is going to be sustained. Having said that, we do have our sympathy as well as our prayers for people who are suffering, those who have lost uh, their friends, family members, as well as those who have lost their property. Let me draw you with your first reaction when you started following this story, knowing the fact that your daughter is in that area, and what have you heard from her so far, Geeta ji?
Yeah, so I didn't know about it because I hardly watch news, I'll be very honest with you. So I was doing my daily thing and posting whatever I wanted to. And all of a sudden, I see this LA fires. And first reaction, obviously, is your child if she is there. So I called her and she was in the clinic. She is a physician. So didn't hear from her, got more panicky. Then she called me and she told me everything is okay. She is okay. Her area is okay. She's very close to Pasadena, where it did hit. And that was scary. She's like, I look out of my window, I see the smoke and I see the burning sky, like the orange color. And that itself is so nerve wracking to me. But I think when you are in there, there are two ways she said people are reacting. Either they are like, okay, it's there. Those who have lived there have dealt with the fires, not this severe, but they are still okay. California is known for those things. So she's like, they were like, okay, we'll deal with it. They were not as panicky as the media and us were. That's the that's what I heard from some of them, and they were calling each other constantly, which I really like, that everybody was calling each other to make sure they are safe. If not, you come over to my house, you stay with me. I saw that side of the humanity, which I really, really appreciate. I'm glad people still do that, because we forget. Sometimes we feel, people are so insensitive and in their own world. No, they were reaching out to everybody else too. And the areas also where it was.
Mhm. So
People
yeah,
were
absolutely
very.
right. I'll come back to you, Geeta ji, and Parveen ji. The way I was following a news thread the strong winds have also created havoc, and the fast pace with which, as we have this saying where we talk about wildfire in terms of its speed of spreading. So they said that within 30 minutes, over 200 acres of land was engulfed. So these stronger winds are also additional challenge for firefighters in Ventura County. They say that I'm talking about today, Tuesday, and they are worried that it may ignite more blazes across parts of Southern California. So the story has not is not over yet. We still are dealing with it, and in this context, as Nilimaji mentioned earlier, the question about how much water resources were available, and then I also relate with one interview in which earlier Sadhguru was mentioning about the deep drilling for water under earth, maybe 1200, 1400 feet also. And I don't know how overall we look at finding the balance between all these elements. But at this point, do you think uh, any amount of resources which the administration, as the mayor is being blamed for not having taken proactive measures to deal with this challenge, but the way it grows, it seems as if that sense of helplessness is there. And yet, before I let you share your thoughts, I would say the bravery of the people who are trying to prevent further damage, etc. They face press, they talk about it, though nobody has complete control over the situation. So that puts an additional equation into play where sometimes politics also starts finding its colors as to the blame game on party lines sometimes starts. How do you see the scenario at the moment in terms of the preventive measures from the administration?
First of all, the water. I had this question also. That LA is right next to the ocean, the Pacific Ocean. So why doesn't it rain? Uh, so that's what I learned, that it does not rain there, and the ground itself is dry. So the rain doesn't come from the ocean. The rain comes from the water in the ground. So there's no water in the ground, and so it doesn't rain much, and that's why the fires start in that area. Politics, yes, we do read that in fire hydrant somewhere, some places there was no water, and so on. And the Republicans and President elect Trump himself is blaming the DEI policies of California for the disaster. And the the Speaker of the House of Representatives, he says that there will be conditions attached to the aid that has to be given to California by the federal government. Maybe that's what they mean, that California should not follow all those diversity, equality policies, DEI policies. But I think overall, what I see is, we say all the time that you cannot fight with nature. Okay, there are floods and hurricanes and this and that, but maybe the next challenge, the next frontier for science will be how to prevent even such natural disasters. Like, can you seed the clouds to bring rain? And I know in India we say there are some classical music or song that can bring in rain. So if mantras can bring rain, then maybe science can also attempt that. Climate change is also going to affect the areas next to the oceans all over the world. They're going to bring also. So science has to find, science together with the politics. They have to find solutions to even such natural disasters.
Yeah, so very well said, Parveen ji, and I think that is a long-term vision with which probably collectively human potential needs to be directed. But coming back to where we are, and Nilima ji, we are at a stage where most of us are given to instant gratification, and there is a sense of impatience with the way smartphones take away our attention, etc. Where we see the situation, as you were mentioning earlier, about the cost factor, and many of the insurance companies do not cover these kind of natural calamities. But in LA, in 1968, they had a California Fair Plan, which was primarily created considering the kind of situation that they face. So this was to get standard home insurance for various reasons. But climate change makes wildfire more frequent there and intense. So now even those fair plan resources, whether they would be adequate to meet the kind of demand which is there. And uh, again, Nilimaji, for practical purposes, whether you are serving to help people, as insurance company, you would stay away from the area which you have this potential threat. So many insurance companies are not even operating there as they are in the other parts of America. Looking at this scenario, how do you see, as we will have a new president in place in White House, and the mayor has also invited him to visit so that he has a better idea, and he has also responded to the criticism that the management was not proper, etc. And so I would compliment this gentleman who said that, yeah, there could always be a better way to deal with these situation, and that is Governor Gavin Nashwan. And I don't know whether Trump is going to visit that area soon or not. But now, Wayne, over this situation in terms of the handling by Democrats or by Republicans? And do you see any basic difference? And of course, we need to work collectively with one voice or with one commitment in such scenarios. Overall, from that point of view, Nilima, your take.
You just mentioned about the insurances that go with such things. There's always a force majeure clause which says that natural disasters are not covered in most contracts. But like you also said, that if a state is prone to something, they may be some kind of leverage being given to them because they know that this is going to happen. But the effect of that is that the cost of that insurance, those plans are astronomical. A lot of people eventually get these plans, some of them don't even get them. So I mentioned earlier that there are going to be repercussions for those who are insured, how quickly they will be able to claim, how quickly they will be able to get those damages made good so that they can build their own homes once again, and start living there. This is not a short story. This is going to go on for a very long time. So when you're buying these instruments, it's a pre-planning. And right now is the present what they have faced, which is total disaster. And the post could be what is the effect as to how much you are going to get. Are you going to go through lawsuits? Is there any other prevention plans that the government will come up with where they will say, okay, we will give you such a help, just like we have FEMA here? So we don't know to what extent these individual families will be, or businesses will be able to recoup in a way to rebuild themselves. Yet I know that there are many Samaritans and many good nonprofit organizations that are trying to pitch in. There are organizations trying to pitch in for the pets. There are organizations that are trying to make room for them. They have organized, so many people are working together, as is expected on a humanitarian basis, that people will come together and people will try to help you in a disaster time. But the power lines getting burned, permissions not being given to drones to fly to even assess a lot of things, because that could be another reason for damage.
Yeah,
The
Nilima ji,
blame game is not what matters right now.
absolutely. So the news is FEMA assistant would be available for those affected by wildfire. So that part would be there. And now we switch gears slightly from the actual uh, on ground action that is required to the philosophical or the spiritual side, where as one family, we all, when I say one family, as we come from India and we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, so whole world being one family, and anywhere if anyone is affected, that is also our concern. And from that angle, Gita ji, and as earlier you mentioned about your daughter being there, overall, how do you see on the philosophical level what are the lessons for those who are away, are okay, and they are taking everything for granted? And as I mentioned earlier, we are getting used to instant gratification and impatience, etc. So what are the lessons for uh, for common humans from what is happening in LA?
I feel number one is the life is transitory. You have to understand that. And the faster we adapt to that, easier it is on human beings. The other thing is, just because I'm feeling okay, it's okay for most of the people generally. This is the time to reflect and look beyond yourself and see, yeah, even I'm guilty of that, posting something on the Facebook the same day or something. I was doing it and then I realized, I said, what the hell? Something so big is happening somewhere. Just because I am not affected myself, I have to have that empathy for the other people, that compassion for the other people. And the word has to be out, and people have to realize that. Most of them do, but there are times we just, if we are okay, our family is okay, we are done. No, it's not. If the world is affected, so are you. Anywhere anybody is crying or is sad or is unhappy, the vibrations will be there in the air and you will feel part of it. So it's good if we consider it Vasudev Kutumbakam and help each other or feel for each other. If I can't do physically something for someone, at least send a prayer. If nothing else, send a prayer. Think of them in the morning in your prayers and send one to them.
So, Parveen, continuing with similar thread, and your lotus in the mud also is towards the positive side of life. Where we are right now, Parveen, we need to find a balance. You cannot uh, kind of have the whole world uh, finding itself intensely in the sad scenario, uh, because the world is like this, something or other will happen somewhere or other place. So we need to find balance, I think, but we need to be sensitive, considerate, and empathetic, as Gita ji mentioned, considering the fact that we, coming from India, have today as an important day where Makar Sankranti is being observed, Lori is being observed, Bihu, and in several states, different festivities are going on. As I mentioned, Mahakumbh also. So we will have that as a part of tradition celebration, but that also relates to invoking that uplifting spirit, which brings out the strength to face such challenges. Your take, as someone who has been a part of positive life also, Parveen.
I have a practical suggestion. We four in this program, we are of Indian origin. This program is for Indian community. And so I think Indian community should take do couple of things. One is at their temples, gurdwaras, Sikh temples, they can organize prayer meetings. Prayer does have prayer. There's a power in prayer. So that the Indian community all over America, starting with Long Island where we live, New York, they should organize such prayer meetings. And two, they should, I think we, the Indian community, we should also do fundraisers for helping, aiding the victims and helping the situation there. Mind you, we live in America, but we still are an immigrant community. And if you have followed the news in the last few days over H-1B visa, Indians are being targeted, that they take away American jobs and so on. So we have to be active, proactive in whatever is happening in America, raise our voice to express our prayers, our good wishes, and so on. So just like the mainstream community, we should be doing all those things also, like fundraising and so on.
I think very well valid points, Nilima ji. As we are concluding this conversation, I would like your response to the suggestion by Parveen ji very briefly, and then we wind up.
What I would also say is I'm sure there are a lot of local resources available and a lot of organizations willing to help over there. Yes, true that we can do fundraisers and we can pitch in a very small way, but the devastation is so big. If it's going to cost $40 billion and families and structures and everything is being
So yeah,
completely destroyed, yet we should all do what we can.
absolutely.
And praying is the least we can do.
Absolutely. And while we talk about a sense of oneness, this becomes a symbolic way of expressing, manifesting, and sort of having that bonding with the America, with those who are suffering. Gita ji, 30 seconds, your concluding prayer.
I would sing something a little bit towards it. आई शरण तुम्हारी हम कान्हा, आई शरण तुम्हारी हम कान्हा, कष्ट हरो सब सुख बरसाओ रे, नंद नंदन परम निरंजन, हे दुख भंजन कान्हा रे, नंद नंदन.
Beautiful. Thank you, Gita ji. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kashyat dukh bhavet. The prayer that comes from the land of Bharat prays for the well-being and happiness of everyone. There is no sense of boundary there. And may everyone be healthy, and may we all have the auspicious intent with that prayer. Parunji, thanking you for joining. Nilima ji, thanking you, and Geeta ji, you as well as. Once again, while we greet on the important festivals, and we appreciate the presence of all of you with this important conversation. This is Ashok Vyas. Namaste.
Namaste.